And here we are witnessing the system is breaking. And for a lot of officers who are part of that good old boy system, they simply don't know how to behave and where we're headed these days. A lot of what the system is right now, as far as law enforcement, is still undefined. And these things are happening on a city level, right? So every city is going to have a different set of circumstances. So that's in large part of the problem because officers are contracted for the most part by the city. There are state troopers and there are sheriffs, and they have a share in this process too. However, a lot of it is playing out with cities who are contracting officers to uphold those laws and statutes that the city enacts. So this this one here, now granted, to say that with second degree murder, there has to be intent when you're wanting to murder someone, or attempted murder rather. I'm not sure that they can prove that. To see, the jury might be convinced that his constant repeating of I'm sorry, I'm sorry," really indicates that he didn't have the intent. But then, of course, the question is, what was your intent, sir? Like, where was the gun, right? Like, what in the hell was going on in your mind is going to be the question that I would have. I imagine anyone in that situation is going to want to know, like, well, okay, if you weren't attempting to hurt someone, what were you attempting to do? Well, how did you see something that wasn't there? How do you explain that? Now, a couple decades ago, that would have been fine. But now, well, where's this boogeyman gun where'd it go? Like, did it just magically disappear somewhere? What happened to it? So he's gonna have to explain that. Uh, Hopefully, they can. It looks like they have grounds to make a deal without even having to go to trial. So we'll see how that goes. He's expected to turn himself in, which is an interesting state of affairs. It would have been nice to see him get arrested. I think the situation warranted that. And then also, of course, I hope the guy follows it up with a lawsuit. Again, it's you and I who are the losers when these cities, counties, and states are paying out on these lawsuits. Nonetheless, I think it's potent to encourage these cities, states, counties to act accordingly, right? And do what you can to get away from riding apples like this guy, because he's definitely an Officer Acorn, right? Him and Officer Acorn are brethren, right? They're tribal members for sure, you know. And that kind of behavior is just absolutely ridiculous. It's really inexcusable. He has no excuse to offer as far as him taking that shot the way he did. Thankfully, he was incompetent enough to even miss the shot when someone's 20 feet in front of you, which is an indicator of where he is as an individual. Like I said, lessons. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I guess you can say, as a citizen, he was pretty relaxed. Just kind of trying to help the lady out. Or I guess he was. His thing was, "She's taking me to the hospital," is what he said. So maybe his thing was, "I just need to get to the hospital." I don't know what his state of affairs was. But for the rest of us, I think it would be a wise idea to, as best we can, not even turn our back on these officers, right? Because he turned his back to them, pretty much just ignored them. I think it would be in our best interest going forward to not even turn our backs on these guys as much as possible. I hate to say that, but we're looking to learn the lessons from tragic events like this as best we can. Thankfully, the man escaped with his life. And we're looking at the indictment on this officer as to what the final comes out to be when they negotiate their deal remains to be seen. Most certainly, though, he should be hit with a felony and not be allowed to be a police officer ever again anywhere. Not even so much as a security guard, to be honest, unless it's going to be with a cheap flashlight, not even a good one, and nothing more. At some dilapidated housing unit with fentanyl users all over the place, that would be the perfect space for him to be employed. And that would be without weapons and under no post orders to engage, just observe and report, nothing else. That would be sufficient for him. So there it is, folks. We'll follow this, see how that comes down. Take care of yourself. Be alert, be aware. Oftentimes, the ones that we think are sworn to protect and serve us, and we tend to let our guard down for, are not. So take note of that. You don't have to suffer from paranoia, schizophrenia, right? But you do need to be aware of what we're dealing with out here and act accordingly.